in person.
They're black.
On the stream, they all look very, very similar.
Hey, it's a blackout for Winthrop tonight.
Yep.
It's a big game, Elijah. It's a big game.
This is peach colored, I believe. Hooksy's wearing black, but it's got a little green tint to it.
Yeah, I'm just jet black, baby.
I got the Hoops hat on, though. You guys got one of those? No.
Damn.
I woke up to my professor canceling class today. He's like, you know what? I know you guys are traveling back for Thanksgiving break. I'm not going to show up to a class of probably 6 people. I'm canceling class. And I went, wow. Hallelujah.
Is that the same professor that moved an essay up on you?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
It is. Yeah, unfortunately.
Watch out. Watch out. You're going to wake up on Thanksgiving morning and be like, hey, just because I canceled class on Tuesday, I'm going to have an essay due today at noon.
This is incredible.
You know what? But God bless his soul.
I just started there.
You can't save some of those people.
He just started there. Oh boy.
You can't sometimes when life gives, life also taketh, just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, it's like I said, we're gonna get to a lot today. Let's talk a little hoops since it's the what's happening tonight at 7:30 Pinnacle Bank Arena. You got Winthrop coming to town. This is such again, we're gonna talk to Robin Washington about 10 minutes or so about this game. I was looking at this Winthrop team. Obviously, Kansas City, phenomenal stuff happened down there. Nebraska gets a couple big wins. Now you see in the AP and the polls are trying to get some votes, 27 votes, I believe, which puts him in the 30th roughly in the poll. Got to turn the page. Winthrop is an interesting team, and I'm not talking about, again, we know they should have beat Arkansas down there. Have you looked at their starting lineup? This is the way of college basketball. Winthrop's starting lineup, again, I think there's 2 interesting points. One, they're all transfers. 5 of them. They're all transfers.
They're all seniors.
They're all seniors.
They're a veteran group.
All seniors, all transfers.
They're a veteran group. They shoot it at a decent clip as a team. They're shooting it at a 38% clip from 3. They also don't turn the ball over. They're 12th in the country in turnover percentage. They turn it over 12.1% of their possessions. They also force a decent amount of turnovers. They're top 70. Mm-hmm. They force a turnover 1 out of every 5 possessions.
Ooh, they get after. They made
20.4%.
Yeah, they made 15 threes against Arkansas.
Now, they're not particularly outstanding at anything else. I mean, they shoot free throws at a decent clip. They're 75% as a team. But outside of that, they don't really do a whole lot. That's amazing. Yeah.
Their rebounding is just all right.
Their defense is when they're not forcing turnovers. Yeah. It'll be a good test, though. I mean, they will play at a decent pace.
It's also noted that in this type of game, it'll be interesting to see. But this is a Winthrop team that will like to shoot it from outside. You have a noticeable size advantage in this game because they're going to start 4 guards when you look at their size and height. But they are a veteran-led group. Nebraska has an opportunity in this game, I think, and we'll talk to Robin as well, but I think going back to the K-State game when they had 48 points in the paint, this might be a game where you're like, all right, let's pound it inside because we have a distinct advantage. They go 5'9", 6'4", 6'1", 6'5", and their big guy 6'10".
Well, but look at their 5'9" guy, Kareem Rozier. Something to note with him.
Lighten it up.
Shooting 43.5% from 3 this year. He is a career 37% three-point shooter. He's averaging almost 8 3-point attempts per game.
Yep.
Only stands 5'9", though.
He's made 20 on the year, I think.
That is Sam Hoiberg size.
Don't you disrespect Sam ever again.
Sorry, that is
hey, he said he was 5'11".
That is Benny Parker sized.
Perfect.
Is that better?
Sam plays way bigger than his size.
But the thing about Winthrop is they played the 45th fastest tempo in the country. They love to run. They will get up and get down. That's probably why they like that 4-guard lineup, Hooksies, because that's how they got after Arkansas. Is they just outran them. They outran them and they outworked them, and then they shot 50% from 3. Which, hey, if you want to pull up an upset against a team of Arkansas's caliber this year, shooting 50% from 3 is probably going to help you in that, because Arkansas also did not play their greatest game.
No, not by any means.
So another opportunity for Nebraska. A couple, as I described them yesterday, as a couple continue to stay right type of games leading up to the matchup December 7th on a Sunday, leading into Big Ten play. These are a couple opportunities for you to continue to stay hot, keep the confidence, keep the momentum on. I do believe and just as we talked about this yesterday, a little bit about interesting is when and if you'll see a deeper rotation. We did not see Garcia as much in Kansas City. Obviously, Oogie's still out. We know that. Season's minutes kind of were limited. He was in a 7-8 man rotation down in Kansas City.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking about this last night. I'm like, okay, what would a shrunk down Nebraska basketball rotation look like? Like if you get into the season, because I was thinking about this because I was watching some great games yesterday. The players there has been on fire, by the way. Great games. Maui's had some great games. Like there have been good basketball games being played all over the country.
Where was that game where the full court buzzer beater attempt hit the ceiling?
Is that in the Bahamas?
Was that the
in the Bahamas,
that was the Greenbrier tip. That was Northwestern South Carolina. I believe you're talking about the Greenbrier tip-off.
Because in the Bahamas, they play in a conference center.
So they play in a conference
in a ballroom.
They actually play in the hotel. Like
Bahamas,
Wisconsin Pitt played there last year for the Greenbrier. And you have to walk. I'm not kidding. It's like remember the Crown tournament where you had to walk through a casino? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's like walking to the Embassy Suites in that big ballroom. It's like, oh, yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and then you show up there. But yeah, no, I mean, there have been a lot of great games, and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, because somebody brought it up in the Gonzaga-Bama game. It's like, well, Gonzaga's deep. How do you shrink this rotation? I was thinking, I'm like, boy, how does Fred shrink this rotation? I mean, I'm like, at worst, you got to go with 9 guys. So you could start Jamarcus, Sam, Price, Berkay, and Rink. But then off the bench, you have Connor you can go to,
Frager,
Braden you can go to,
Jacobson,
Kale you can go to. When Oogie gets healthy, he's going to play. I don't know if you can starve Leo minutes, but you probably are going to have to. I mean, you can play him and Garcia in spots. You're probably going to play 9 guys.
There's going to be opportunities where those guys have to play. There will be moments in the Big Ten where there'll be foul issues or whatever that those guys have to. So wanting to win games no matter what, right? Okay, that's first and foremost. And I think Fred did a really nice job of styles make fights down in there, and you found your rotation that was playing well on both ends of the court. But at some point, depth will be an issue because we are going to get the foul call or whatever the case is. You're going to need some of that.
And I feel like as the season goes on, what I've seen so far might just be, hey, in the first half, it's a deeper bench. We're going to roll some guys. Connor knocks down a couple threes. We'll roll with him in the second half. If not, shrink down the rotation. Hey, if Frager gets to the rim, knocks down a couple threes whenever he comes off the bench, that's the guy we're going to roll with. If not, maybe a Sejan's got it going. I think it might be one of those ride the hot hand seasons off the bench where just you find a guy who's knocking it down well off the bench. Hey, he's going to be one of your 7 guys in the second half. If not, leave him on the bench.
Well, I think you put it perfectly because Hooksy said it. Styles make fights, right? Against Oklahoma, you needed Berkay because Oklahoma was going with a little bit of a bigger lineup, more athletic. Like you needed somebody who can handle Tay Davis. Frager wasn't full go in that game. Connor had made an impact offensively, but you really liked the lineup that you had going right there, and then bringing in Kale and shrinking it down to 6. But, in Kansas City, Berkay was not fit for that game, right? Because Kansas State was a smaller lineup. They wanted to run and gun. They wanted to shoot it. They were outpacing you. So you bring Frager in, and then you just leave Mast out there, and then you work with that lineup, and then, maybe you go offense, defense, bring Kale back in, because he seems to really have things going from a connectivity standpoint. But, yeah, I mean, they did shrink it down to a 6-man rotation at times because Berkay just straight up didn't have it in that Kansas State game. But, defensively, I think it also helped that Frager was able to cover a little bit more ground. You needed somebody who could have some range on the perimeter as well as give you that threat. I mean, Frager is just a different cat where I think he has a better handle than Juwan right now.
Yes.
But, and I think he's like a better overall finisher. Like he can get to a different bat. Juwan is just more athletic. Like that was the big thing about Juwan, but very similar like player styles with what they want to do. But I also like Frager can also shoot it at a 40% clip, which is really going to help you. I mean, I think Sam put it perfectly. I mean, when he was talking to you guys on the Average Joe Sports Show on Sunday, like he could have played last year. They just decided, hey, we want to stick with the plan because he's 17. Like this is an 18-year-old kid who's coming out and making an impact and is now a Big Ten freshman of the week, first one Nebraska ball's had since Jamarcus Lawrence. So they've got impact pieces. And, I'm assuming they're going to wait until Oogie gets fully healthy. That's why they're fleshing this thing out, because if you get that guy back for Big Ten play with the rebounding and the passing vision.
Huge factor.
Yeah, he can do a lot of the similar things that Rink can do from a backup big perspective. That's going to help you so much offensively when you get into Big Ten play because those guys being so similar allows your offense to flow with some synergy. And if you can go with 9 9 guys. That is a very big luxury in the Big Ten because most Big Ten rotations are going to go with 7 or 8 guys. So if you can add a 9th guy, keep bodies fresh, keep the foul totals low, that's going to help you so much when you get into conference play.
As we look at tonight specifically, and before we get to Robin here, the line I'm seeing 16.5 in favor of Nebraska. How's that strike you?
I think they can beat them up on the interior.
I think they can. I think that makes sense to me.
It kind of almost feels like one of those lines that it's like, well, you saw what Winthrop just did to Arkansas.
It's no reaction.
Like 16.5, Nebraska can cover that. This
you can see the path of success for Nebraska to blow them out.
I'd say like a 86 to 64 type game.
The computers say it's a 17-point difference in favor of Nebraska. They predict a 91 to 74 win.
I was pretty close to that.
Yeah. They just think that we're going to score a little bit more, maybe give up a little bit more, but I don't think that's taken into account. Like Nebraska's defense, I think, is pretty solid. They've just gotten into some games against some up-tempo teams that are going to inflate those numbers.
I also wonder if the fan base might be a little more juiced for this one after how the last couple games have gone. You got a big win against Oklahoma, a big win against K-State. I think also Husker football team with a loss. I think people would be like, "Ooh, okay, basketball season."
Well,
should be a good win against Winthrop.
Well, I mean, you got two bye games this week. Let's be totally frank. You got Winthrop and USC upstate. They know what they're coming in here to do. They're here to give you a challenge. They're going to help you find some new things. Because your next two after that, you get Creighton and Wisconsin.
Yep.
And you are playing a Creighton team who, I'm going to be honest, optically, not the greatest right now.
Nope.
Optically, they do not have it all going.
They have issues.
They have very big issues.
But we all know how that thing turns out.
Wisconsin also has issues.
And then what's after Wisconsin?
You get Illinois
on the road.
That is going to be
Peacock exclusive.
Yay.
Well, and the thing is like you got to, I think ideally you want this team rolling 4 straight wins. You want this team being 10-0 going into Illinois. I think that's the ideal. Obviously, Wisconsin's going to be very tough.
Yep.
Creighton is always going to be
tough.
It's a rivalry game. You got to throw things out the window. Absolutely a rivalry game.
Can you make it to the new year? Can you make it to that matchup with Michigan State with just 1 loss? That's my question.
Boy, that'd be special, wouldn't it?
I think
it's doable.
I think that there's a legitimate chance that they could.
I think there's a legitimate chance they could be undefeated going into that. Illinois is a really good basketball team. That's going to be
they're tough on the
game.
road.
The problem is it's tough on the road.
It's tough on the road, but you can give that team.
You can give them some. You can give a lot of.
I think you can make that game competitive. Like the computers have that as like a 10-point swing. I think you could make that a single-digit game.
Yeah, I think this Husker basketball team, just from our conversation with Sam, they know what they have internally. I think they're excited to show it off to the country, and they've gotten their bits and pieces.
Yeah,
You know, the win against Oklahoma, kind of there. Win against K-State. Going on the road against Illinois would be your national, whoa.
Boy. That'd be put you on the map.
Because you can take care of business against Creighton. You can beat a Wisconsin team, but
my barometer for success, can you take 1 loss? Maybe not barometer for success, but it's very doable. If this team could take 1 loss to the new year to a home game against Michigan State, that'd be a top 25 matchup.
Top
likely.
25 matchup. Very likely.
Another Peacock exclusive.
They win against Creighton and Wisconsin. That road game in Illinois might be a top 25 matchup.
Oh, easily will be. Easily will be. So, all right, tonight, 7:30, Pinnacle Bank Arena. Also, if you aren't able to go, it's Big Ten Network tonight. Let's take a break. We're going to continue talking hoops, but we're going to do it with Husker Online's Robin Washington. Yeah. Let's do this.
Ryan A40 thinks we win by 15. I'm probably somewhere in that region. I do think that Winthrop probably covers, or this might be a case where it's like North Florida last year. You guys remember that game where North Florida kind of had a lot of momentum. They knocked off some high major opponents, and then Nebraska drops 104 on them.
Yeah.
There is the potential that they just have one of those nights shooting the basketball because they didn't have it in KC, and they come out and they blitz them.
My question would be, is just like the K-State game, does Nebraska have the patience on a night like tonight to go inside to do that? Because you could beat them up a lot inside. I could foresee, like, if they could just, like, they're going to shoot the 3 ball. I'm not saying not shoot it. They're going to shoot a lot of them. But this could be a big night for points in the paint, second chance points, offensive rebounds.
I mean, kind of feels like another rink mass. If Nebraska covers rink mass, fill up the stat sheet kind of.
Yes.
I'm not going to say triple double. But go to work in the low post, get your 20 and 10 and 5-6 assists.
Because Frager could probably go get 30.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
That was another point I was going to make.
But also,
Frager could probably go get 30.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong. If Burke will play the role that he needs to play, he could be a huge presence on the defensive end tonight and down low.
Yeah, so his
because
shot.
I don't want him to shoot the 3 ball anymore. Please stop.
His shot diet needs some reworking. He could take 1 to 2 a game for me. But
that's it.
I don't need you taking 4 or 5.
No,
brother.
I feel like that's what he kind of settled in on last year. Was he kind of found a style which was they're going to get him matched up on a slightly smaller guy in the post and let him go to work.
Let him go to work.
I feel like he settled into that come February and March last year, where
like a Burke,
he was into it early against Oklahoma, and they got him
like a
some
Burke,
design looks. But you need to get him working on that and say, hey, 18 and in, I want you absolutely killing matchups.
Like a Burke, like an 11, 8, and 4 guy.
Boy, that's ideal.
Think about that. Like his role, even like a 9,
but he's a monster.
7 and 4. I don't even know.
But he's a monster on the glass, and he's great defensively. Like that guy does translate. It's just you don't want him shooting the ball.
He's Nebraska's Draymond.
Oh, yuck.
I believe that personality-wise, that would be Mr. Fraker.
Quit disrespecting Burke.
It's not disrespect.
I'm kidding.
Draymond's probably a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, wouldn't that be? That's just yuck. Oh, by the way, in college, I don't know if we'll get back to it. You know what happened last night for the first time all season? No, you don't know? A ranked opponent lost to an unranked team.
Oh.
First time all night, all season.
Here we go, Bells.
Robin.
Outstanding. Girl, you knock me out.
Welcome back in the morning hookup. Happy Tuesdays for our guy from Husker Online, Robin Washington. Washington, what's up?
What's happening, fellas?
I got a question. Who's sweating more? The Nebraska defensive line knowing I was going to run the football against us all the time, or you in a stat correction?
I'm feeling pretty good because anything that would be adjusted probably has already been adjusted by now. But when you win by 0.15, it's always a little dicey when you got to wait to make sure nothing gets all, anything crazy on you.
Now, Robin, with the way that the Giants season has gotten, have you taken a look at the NFL draft? Have you become excited by any prospects? Has anybody really caught your eye from a draft evaluation standpoint? I think you guys have the quarterback. I think you like your running back situation. You've got some nice defensive pieces. Do you have anybody that you're eyeing?
They're the most fun team in the NFL in my eyes.
I don't know. It doesn't matter because Joe Shane's still the GM, and they'll draft somebody, and then that player will get hurt, and then we'll be back talking about the same thing next year. So, no, I have very little enthusiasm or excitement. I mean, they got some good pieces, but, I don't trust him to hire the right coach, and he's going to make terrible personnel decisions, and, we'll be back in this vicious cycle of pain and misery. So, when you halfway try to fix the problem by just firing the coach and then letting that GM that hired the same coach hire another coach, and then you fire the GM and then the new GM fires that coach. That's the cycle you want to avoid, and the Giants just think that that's the way to do it. So sure, maybe they'll get a good player, but it won't matter. And when you draft in the top 5 every year, you better be getting good players. And so they're like, I don't even give them credit for drafting well because when your team is perpetually terrible, you're always going to have a pretty good odds of getting a good pick. So I don't know. They'll probably get somebody cool, and then the player won't do anything because they don't have nearly enough pieces around them. And we'll be having the same conversation a year from now.
That sounds rough. That's PTSD if I've ever heard it from a
so
fan point of view.
I'm so sorry.
From the outside looking in, I think they're really fun. I think they could just be a couple pieces away and a coach hire. But if you have no faith in the GM, I understand where you're coming from. But I will be honest, as a neutral, I do flip on the Giants game every single week because that team is fun week in, week out.
Also, Jameis is hilarious.
Well, and you know that they're going to find the most crushing way possible to lose in the final minutes too. So that's the real fun part, right? Where you get Jackson Dart or Jameis or Scattaboo or whoever, like having these awesome performances. You're leading by 10 in the fourth quarter. How are the Giants going to blow it this week? It's a fun game we play every week.
Hey, if you need another starting wide receiver, I mean, Jameis can go out there and go get you one. I tell you what, if he runs out of juice as a QB, he's got some juice as a wide receiver now.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's pretty much the only reason worth watching the Giants right now. So I'm glad we at least have that. It makes these depressing losses a little more tolerable. But again, it's kind of going to be par for the course going forward.
Speaking of feeling no pain, Nebraska basketball has felt none thus far this year, 6-0 heading into tonight's contest, which we'll get to. Reflect back on Kansas City. They get two, I think, big time wins down there against a couple of good opponents. But talk about this team. I think looking at this team, watching the way they played in a couple of halves, you saw a lot of great stuff. Also against K-State, finding a different way to win with getting the ball into the paint. This team is now showing you it can win in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the storyline going into the year was, we know that they're going to be a good 3-point shooting team, and they've got, shooters all across the board and all that stuff. But what happens when the threes aren't falling? And, are they going to be able to find other ways to adjust and kind of adapt, especially in the Big Ten Conference and even against higher level competition when, they're not hitting everything they take from behind the arc. And so that was kind of the most encouraging thing was they've had some games, especially that New Mexico game where the shooting wasn't great, but then they just found ways. And, that's the sign of growth of a team. It's a sign of veteran players that kind of understand that you got to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And, you're seeing a lot of leadership in the face of adversity. So certainly about as encouraging of a week for Nebraska as you're going to find. The fact that, they played high level competition. They found themselves in some tough spots, and each time they responded the right way. And whether they were, playing to their system and their strengths or adapting and, finding, different ways to have success, they showed that they're more than just a one-trick pony. And, this live by the three, die by the three, that'll always be the case, but at least now you have a little bit more of a cushion. You feel like with their willingness and ability to do it differently when they need to.
Robin, talk to me a little bit about this Winthrop team coming in. Obviously had a chance to beat Arkansas. Probably should have beaten Arkansas if not for some John Calipari Benjamins into the pocket of the referees. But this team in Winthrop, they don't turn it over. They force a decent bit of turnovers. They shoot it at a 38% clip from three, and they play at the 45th fastest tempo in the country. That's an interesting recipe, and it's a recipe that can translate, certainly. But what do you make of this Winthrop team coming in, and what kind of challenge do you think they can pose for Nebraska and give them a different look?
I mean, they're a veteran team. You look at their roster; they're all a bunch of seniors, fifth-year seniors, and guys that have played high-level basketball. Their starting center was an Indiana recruit. They got their leading scorer was on the Duquesne team that Nebraska only beat by 10 2 years ago when he came into PBA and scored 16 points. So they've got guys that aren't going to be intimidated walking into PBA. And Nebraska, if they kind of sitting there feeling fat and happy after last week and think they can just kind of coast to a win, they're going to be in for a rude awakening, because Winthrop, as they've proven, can compete with anybody. Especially when they're hitting threes. I think they have 15 threes against Arkansas. So, I mean, they are just as capable as Nebraska is of lighting it up. And, what happens if Nebraska, they're not making their threes early and Winthrop comes out hot, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a battle. So that's kind of goes back to that conversation where you feel good about Nebraska's ability to adjust, but at the same time, like, a lot of this is just, how locked in Nebraska is. And I think that Fred's done about as much of a job as he possibly can to get these guys to turn the page quickly. You go back and watch that cinematic recap after the Kansas State game. Like, they hadn't even left the locker room yet when he's telling them how good Winthrop is. And, just really instilling in these guys that, you can't sit there and feel too good about yourself, because there's another big challenge that awaits. So I think that Winthrop has Nebraska's attention. And if especially if Nebraska can start hot. That's been an issue for them in some of these games, where they kind of sputter around for the first 15 minutes or so, and then finally flip the switch, to end the first half or start the second half. I don't know if you want to test that this week or tonight, because Winthrop's too good. And if you give them an inch, they're going to take it. So I think it's an interesting matchup, and one that, could be a nice little resume piece for Nebraska if they're able to win, especially win convincingly, because Winthrop's probably going to win their league. They're probably going to go to the NCAA tournament. So to have, a win, especially, if you come anywhere close to covering the 16.5 point spread, then, this could be another nice opportunity and another good piece to your resume. But that only happens if you show up with the right mentality. So that's going to be the challenge for this group, where, they've shown that they can overcome adversity. Now, how do they handle success? And that's kind of what these games are all about. And we'll find out even more about this team and what they're made of tonight.
As it stands right now, Robin, who deserves to be ranked more, the Nebraska basketball team or Indiana? Indiana snuck in at number 25 in the top 25, and I was looking through their wins. Nothing there quite impresses me, but I don't know. I don't watch college basketball as much as everyone else out there.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's good. I think they're a legitimate top 25 team. I think DeVries has done a really good job with that roster, and they actually have a semblance of identity as opposed to what it was under Woodson. So, I'm not upset about them being ranked over Nebraska. Nebraska's right on the cusp. I mean, they're a tie for 30th right now. So, I don't even worry about that. It's kind of like the AP poll stuff. Like, I just don't care anymore. Because with football, you have the playoff rankings, and with basketball, you have the net rankings. That's all that matters. The AP stuff, that's just for the fans. So it really means nothing. And a lot of it is because the voters don't watch Nebraska, or they're picking teams based off the name on the front of the jersey as opposed to what they've done over their season. They look at the record, the name of the team. All right, yeah, put them in the top 25. So I give very little thought to AP rankings. Sure, it's cool to have a number by your name when you look at the score bug during a game, but in the end, all that matters is doing your job and putting yourself in position to have as high of a net ranking as possible. And I think those come out here, I think next week. So that's the only number that I care about. The AP ranking I could care less about.
It's Robin Washut with us here on the Morning Hookups. We talk a little Nebraska basketball. We'll get to football as well here in just a second. But Robin, first, we were talking back in the first segment about shrinking this rotation. A lot of teams like to do that. Come Big Ten play, come conference play, you kind of feel things out through the non-con. Is this a lineup that you think is going to get shrunk down? Because there does feel like 8 or 9 guys in this team that can provide you pretty valuable minutes.
I think it already is. You only played 8 guys or 9 guys down in Kansas City. And so, Oogie will factor in there once he gets healthy. Leo will play as needed, but I think right now 8 or 9 is probably the right number. But the good news is that they can go deeper if they need to. If there are more injuries, or if they get into foul trouble, or for whatever it may be, that's the luxury of having a bench as deep as Nebraska has. But like you said, the reality is once the games start getting more and more pressure packed, you need to have your core group, and I think Nebraska's pretty much found that. You got your starters with Connor and Frager, and I'm blanking on somebody else. Anyway, Kale's in that conversation, and then when Oogie gets healthy, he'll be in there too. So I think you're looking at probably 9 guys right now as your core group, and with the ability to go bigger than that if needed. But yeah, I think that's kind of what we learned. One of the things we learned over this last week against higher level competition is that's usually when coaches start to lean on their guys. And I think you look at the box scores and the guys that played the most minutes over these last 3, that's who Fred's guys are right now.
Robin, I wanted to ask you big picture Big Ten conference. Obviously, Michigan, Illinois, Purdue are kind of, the favorites for the conference. But then there's that pack of Michigan State, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio State, Iowa. Do you think that Nebraska fits into this conversation in the Big Ten as a top 10 team? And if they do, does that make for a good NCAA, potential tournament resume if this Nebraska team does finish in the top 10 of the Big Ten?
they're in the top 10. We're talking about what seed they are, whether or not they're going to make the tournament. Like the Big Ten's good this year, and they're going to be deep, and they're going to have the chance to get, 10 plus teams into the tournament. And, Nebraska's already off and running, assembling their non-con resume. And I've watched some of these other games around the league, like Wisconsin just got run out of the gym by BYU, who, albeit an exhibition, Nebraska beat. So, like, I look at some of these teams that, Illinois is going to be in that separate tier. Purdue, I would even put Michigan in that conversation right now. They're pretty good. But like that next group, I don't see any reason why Nebraska couldn't beat those teams on any given night, because they've got the makeup for, especially when they're shooting at a high level from three, they can play with anybody on their schedule. And I would even include teams in that first tier in the conference, because they've shown that they have the ability to play with anybody. So still a lot to prove yet about kind of where exactly you like their chances in league play. But with every time they step on the court and the way that they seem to be maturing with every game and kind of looking at how the rest of the league is playing out, I don't see any reason why Nebraska can't be a top 10 team in the league, because they've shown that they've had every chance to do so.
Again, we're speaking to Robin Washington, HuskerOnline.com. Robin, let's talk about a few of those guys. I mean, Frager, you mentioned his name. Big Ten Freshman of the Week honors just got by him. Sam Hoiberg, guys like that. Tell me if you feel like you just get a feeling there's a quiet confidence. This isn't an overly emotional team, which, in the long season, it can't be too high, can't be too low. But talk about those guys in a Kale, like what they bring, because there's like this quiet confidence that, what? People say we kind of don't belong, but they're playing like they absolutely do.
Yeah, I think that's just outside of Frager, the benefit of having a veteran roster. They've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of basketball, and guys that have won. Talk about Rink and Kale and Sam and even Jamarcus. A lot of those guys have played in NCAA tournaments or won postseason tournaments. So that experience goes a long way. When all of a sudden you prove to yourself that you can win, you start to believe it. And, it's not that, can we do it? It's, how are we going to do it? And I think that's kind of what this team is starting to embrace more and more, especially after this past week. When you go out there and win the types of games they did and do so in the manner that those went down, that does wonders for just kind of your momentum and your belief that when you get in those situations again, when maybe they fall behind in the second half against Creighton or whatever it is, like it's not going to be panic mode, because they've been there and done that against teams that are just as good, if not even a little better. So that's kind of the big positive here, is that you got a veteran group that understands not only that they can handle adversity, but I think they are starting to believe that they're pretty darn good. And like, they know that they're not just some team that might have a chance if they hit a bunch of 3-pointers. Like they've got a versatile offense. They can play good enough defense, and they've got the depth and the pieces in place to really adjust to whatever level and type of opponent that they're playing. So again, it's still early. They still have a lot to prove here, but with the sample size thus far, I think that there's definitely a confidence within this group that when they play their game and do it at a high level, they can compete with and potentially beat anybody on their schedule.
It's Robin Washington with us here. And Robin, let's talk a little football before we get you out. We have to do it, Hooksy. I'm sorry. The game on Saturday against Penn State, the way in which Penn State beat you was kind of kicking the hell out of you on the lines of scrimmage, running the damn ball. Whenever you look at Friday, the team that's coming up, Iowa, they have a great offensive line. They like running the football with their running back, with their quarterback. Is there reason to believe it won't just be more of the same on Black Friday?
It's hard to feel overly optimistic after what we saw, but at the same time, I do think that there's a pretty significant talent discrepancy. But Penn State is starting to play like the team that was a preseason national title contender. And I don't know what was going on in that UCLA Northwestern game that, for whatever reason, they look like they never played football together. But now, they've are starting to, play with a little bit more fire, and all of a sudden all that talent they have across the board is playing up to that potential. So Nebraska kind of ran into a buzzsaw there where you had a a kind of a motivated Penn State team that was playing for a lot. They're playing for their interim coach. They're playing to go to a bowl game. They're playing for senior day, and Nebraska just didn't bring the juice. And so that was kind of a perfect storm working against the Huskers in that one. But this Iowa game, now you can flip it. Like, Nebraska needs to get some mojo back on its side. Now they're playing on their senior day. They've got the rivalry aspect of Iowa. So I would expect a more locked in Nebraska team, just considering, all the circumstances at play. But at the same time, if they, have the effort they did against Penn State, Iowa's going to do the exact same thing. That Penn State just did whatever they wanted on the edges. What does Iowa do? They have the best outside zone running game in the conference. When they have a mobile quarterback, which has killed Nebraska all year. And, they've got a defense that baits you into making mistakes. They play elite special teams. So all these things that, Nebraska's had issues with over the course of the season, especially now with a true freshman quarterback, like, I guess there's reason to be concerned about this one. But at the same time, I think Nebraska's has shown a good ability to bounce back. They haven't lost back-to-back games all year, and after disappointing losses, they seem to always come back and play a higher level of football. So I think what you're banking on is that motivation, that sense of urgency, maybe being a little bit of an X factor for Nebraska in this one. And, if they can win it, you could make a strong case that it's the biggest win of the Matt Rule era thus far, just considering what it means in the Iowa rivalry, what it means for going to a better bowl game, and just the momentum going into the postseason and off season that it would provide, and vice versa. If you lose it, all of a sudden all this momentum you've built and what was supposed to be a big step forward season kind of goes out the window a little bit. So there's a lot at stake in this one, and you're just hoping Nebraska locks in, turns the page after a disastrous trip to Happy Valley, and plays with the fire necessary for a game of this magnitude.
Well, Washington, we appreciate you, brother. But I encourage you guys. This guy is the pulse of Nebraska basketball. I'm not telling you what to do, how to do it, but just go to Husker Online and subscribe to these guys. I'm not giving away. I've seen your season record and your record against the spread with Nebraska ball. You might want to take a peek, folks.
Hey, the spread, by the way, I should be undefeated, but I blame the officials for screwing up the clock. So I picked Nebraska to cover 1.5.
Yep.
And what does Sam Hoiberg do? Intentionally miss a free throw.
As he
that
should.
would have put him at a 2-point lead. So clearly the refs were, cooking the books a little bit, and it cost me my perfect first to spread record. I'm still upset about that.
You weren't the only person that day cost that perfect spread record. There were plenty of people who went to Twitter to say, "Are we freaking kidding? Can we get our act together?" To some of the zebras that were trying to approach the
Chauncey
official
Billups made the call. He
Chauncey
made the call.
Billups. Dang it. That's good stuff. Well, Rosh, man, appreciate it, brother, man. Take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you.
Robin Washington, HuskerOnline.com. Great stuff from him. Let's come back and, oh, boy.
High school football.
Let's look at high school football, the Class B championship.
Asking about football on a day like today.
Robin did say something a little concerning in there, as he said, this has a potential, if Nebraska gets it done, to be the biggest win of the Matt Rule era. If there's pressure on the line, I'm taking Iowa.
Oh, there's pressure. I think this.
What is every single time we've said could be the biggest game of the Matt Rule era? It's always ended in Nebraska loss.
We're on the air.
Ooh.
Bad.
We are playing spots.
I don't.
I don't.
Good.
No.
Check.
I
Good.
think we're good.
We off.
Are we off?
Try.
All right. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Coming up, high school football. We got cuts of that, don't we? You got some
I
cuts
don't
for him
know.
to play.
I do not know.
Do we have where are
Yes.
the high school cuts at? We can.
They're
post
under
them?
a folder titled 2025 High School Football Highlights.
Well, good news is I don't think we said anything that was.
No, we were fine. You guys also see the forecast for the end of the week?
Yeah.
The forecast moved from snow Friday to snow Saturday.
That's all right. We'll take it Saturday.
Friday would be more fun. The cuts that I think would be best to play.
they under Mozies?
No, 2025 high school football highlights is what it should be titled.
Are they in the prod folder?
X Drive.
Yeah, the extra.
Yeah. Or high school football highlights 2025, something along those lines.
Yeah, I got it now.
And then it's Waverly, Gretna East.
So I'll just pull up all these then.
Yeah, and I'll call for some cuts here.
I call. You call me. You my people. Call your people. All right. Whew. Thought Moats was having an attack. He looked like the Kool-Aid man running through that.
So the people at home wouldn't understand. There's router commands in our log, and sometimes the router commands just do not fire as they should whenever the log goes.
Didn't fire.
It just didn't fire. So I just copied and pasted.
So we had it in there, and it didn't want to work today.
I think he stopped us from saying anything we should. Probably.
I didn't say anything.
No.
We never do.
Yeah.
We're always on the stream.
Yeah. No, but yeah, is Matt Rule going to get a contract extension and potentially be coaching for his job next year? Is that a conversation we want to have?
I don't think so.
Well, I'll get back to you after Friday.
Yeah, I don't think. This is a big one.
I'll get back to you after
Optically big.
Friday. I don't think it would be an off-season hot seat thing, but if next year does not go well,
It would be a next year hot season
no,
thing.
you could put yourself on the hot seat next year if things don't go well with the schedule you have.
27.
People always talk about the buyout. If college football this season has showed us anything, the buyout no longer matters.
Well, it did to Florida State. They weren't willing to flex $100 million price tag.
Yeah, it was the buyout combined with this year's carousel.
And the assistants that they'd have to pay out because
Yeah.
they're paying Malzahn and Tony White a pretty penny.
I think that was more about this year's coaching carousel than the buyout, though.
Which
Like
is interesting.
60-40,
Which is
60% carousel, 40% buyout.
Which is interesting. Like, why would Cal fire Justin Wilcox if they were going to have to jump into that carousel?
I don't know.
Were they just that fed up with him?
Or are they just going to cut the football program?
Because now Oregon State's gonna, probably they're in talks with Wilcox already. I wonder what JKS is going to do. Is he going to hit the portal?
Well, I'm wondering, did you guys see the timing was very strange, and it was not fired. It was Chip Kelly and the Raiders have parted ways.
Parted ways. Yes.
They basically
That was
fired him.
interesting wording with the timing that we have, knowing there's going to be a whole bunch of head coaching hires happening in
Yeah,
college
'cause it
football in the
said-
next 7 days.
And even Pete Carroll's comments
Somebody
in that
didn't
were
get a
kind
gr-
of awkward about, like, we were on the same page. We didn't have game plan, whatever issues. It just didn't
Fit.
Yeah.
Or it didn't pan out, whatever the word
Which
you
means
used.
that Chip tried to flex his muscle a little
Well,
too much.
I mean,
it-
Chip might have a job.
It strikes me as a things aren't going great here, Chip. If you would like to be looking around for college openings, feel free to do so. This hasn't quite worked out in the NFL.
Like, I'll help you out.
He might go try to be the highest paid OC in college football because I don't know if he wants to run a program.
Yeah, I don't know either, but if you're Arkansas, would you make a run at them?
Why not? That'd be fun.
Hey, somebody go get him. All right,
We'll see
here
what
we go.
happens.
There we go.
Welcome back in the morning. Hookup. Special thanks to Robin Wash, HuskerOnline.com. Boy, yesterday, Class B championship. Waverly, Gretna East did not disappoint. 42-27. First state title for Waverly since 1980, 45 years. And boy, there were some offensive stuff happening in that game, whether it be the passes you saw from Gretna East or the running attack of Waverly. My goodness.
Yeah, Nathan Axman, have it,
Ooh,
kid.
41-277.
Yeah, let's hear that 41st carry of the night. This happened late in the fourth quarter. Waverly leading at 35-27, an 8-point lead. Cut 10 here from Waverly and Gretna East as his final carry of the game was a good one.
Snap to Tepley, hands it off. Axman.
Uh-oh.
Axman breaks free. 50.
Uh-oh.
He's wide open. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Waverly.
Ball game.
Stick a fork in it.
41st carry of the game. He
And
goes
he's-
for 277 on the ground, another 45 through the air for Nathan Axman.
I watched this. Did you guys enjoy, if you watch it or if you were there, did you enjoy? I enjoyed the Maryland Eye more than I ever thought I would. watching that stacked up setup and trying to stop it. I'm like, this is fun.
Listen, the people in the booth, like our good friend Bobby Hessling, Elijah was in the booth calling the game, and I immediately, like, I'm sitting there statting and spotting because I'm like, I'm just hanging out with Bobby basically, and I jot down, I'm like, guys, this is the Maryland die. I'm like, guys, this is the Maryland die. Like, this is to a T, and I'm like. And so I started drawing up like plays during the timeouts. And I'm like, okay, here's Maryland I smash, here's counter. Like, I'm like, this is how it works. And I was just football nerding at this because they ran. It was three formations. They ran a lot of 12 personnel. Yep. It was a lot of Maryland I, and then they ran some jumbo when they wanted to get really big in there with a double flex, the double H backs. So I was really, really, encouraged by, the return of power football to the high school level. Love that. It was still modern offense, but they threw in the power run, which I am a huge fan of. I was very, very much fawning over the Waverly scheme. Also,
shout out to Gretna East. Boy, they had some magnificent plays at quarterback and some great catches from their receivers. They look like to be something going forward. I don't know their situation. I know Waverly graduates like 20-something kids off that championship team, which you'll go into a quote-unquote a rebuild of some whatever the next year looks like. But Gretna East up front on their defensive side looked like they wanted to hit all night long. And again, they had to.
That was a fun just lines of scrimmage game. Don't let the score distract you. This was not an air it out type game. This was a game that was just brutal along the lines of scrimmage. Offensive line and defensive line going at it. You had penetration. You had linebackers out there hitting. That was what high school football is supposed to be, that game last night.
No, and, Gretna East came into that. Connor Sams was a 2,000-yard rusher, one of only two in the state. So
I love how his shoulder pads just look like that, like 1980s style running back.
Oh, no, it was very Dorset, Earl Campbell-esque with how big the shoulder pads were. But also, they bring back Grow, their quarterback, next year. He's going to be back for Gretna East. So they're going to have some pieces that can come back and really make an impact for them. So that's another team to watch out for. And Coach Haberman's done a really good job building that program up in such a short amount of time coming over from West Side. So that's going to be a fun team to watch. And Waverly will obviously be reloaded. That coaching staff does a great job.
Congrats to Waverly again. First one since 1980, 45 years in the mix. Also, by the way, I got a chance yesterday in the afternoon. I was just home real quick, picked my kid up, and I watched a little 8-man football. Oh, if you didn't have a chance to at least listen or watch that, my goodness, 42-34 at half, 71-60 final.
The new scoring explosion.
My goodness.
It's a blast,
It's an interesting concept to watch 8-man football. I know I'm sure 6 is way different as well, but 8, well, tonight, speaking of a lot of points, it might be tonight in the A game.
Millard South,
tonight?
South.
Is that a night game?
That's a night game, 7:15 kick.
7:15 kick. That'll be going on down Memorial Stadium. It's 3 games today, so be careful as you're driving through downtown. Navigate. Maybe go around it. Or you know what? Follow the traffic. Go the wrong way like everybody else does.
Yeah.
My goodness. Sorry. We better take a break. When we come back, Brian Munson, Monday Night Football, and a whole lot more.
Sports show at the Single Barrel on the corner of 9th and P inside the Graduate Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Come on by, get all your pregame predictions and chatter. Pick up prizes from Bud Light, other freebies. As we remind you, the Single Barrel's open in the Graduate Lincoln daily for breakfast at 7 a.m. 7 days a week, and visit singlebarrel.com to make reservations or order online and book that event today. Singlebarrel.com. Be sure to join the Average Joe's Wednesday ahead of Thanksgiving. It's a Roadshow Black Friday as we invite you out live Real Red reaction from the Bar 16th and P. What a season it's been for Nebraska football, and we're here to talk about it at the Bar 16th and P as Real Red reaction gets going at 2:30 following Nebraska, Iowa. Plenty of Slinkies and Husker fans. So come see us as Real Red reaction live at the Bar 16th and P, Black Friday on KFOR.
Progressive knows you've got enough to worry about in life.
Hi, it's your life again. Feel like another year is just slipping away? Yeah, remember all those New Year's resolutions you made? You still haven't finished the first book. Just 19 more to go. I mean, if we're being honest, it wasn't a very realistic goal. Have you ever considered that you intentionally self-sabotage? So what's that about?
So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. At Children International, we know that the journey to end poverty for good begins first with a child. It starts with their first checkup, lesson, opportunity, job. That journey to
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. Overnight, an intense barrage of Russian missiles and drones raining down on Ukraine's capital. 7 people killed in Kyiv as negotiations intensify between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine on ending the war. ABC News Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez with more on the discussions over the U.S.-backed plan that previously had strongly favored Russia.
One of the key things that appears to not be in this arrangement right now are those strict limits on the size of a future Ukrainian military, which is something that the Russians have wanted. But right now, it appears that the Russians are not acknowledging publicly that these talks are taking place in Abu Dhabi. They say that they have seen a document, but I'm not sure if they're talking about the 28-point document that was being worked on prior to Geneva.
Arizona Senator and former combat Navy pilot Mark Kelly says he won't be intimidated by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is investigating him over that video put out by Kelly and 5 other Senate Democrats urging members of the military not to follow illegal orders. ABC's Mary Bruce.
Kelly is the only one of the 6 lawmakers to be investigated by the Pentagon because, unlike the other military veterans, Kelly is retired and receiving benefits and still subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
If you're one of the tens of millions of Americans hitting the road this Thanksgiving week and you frequent the very busy East Coast corridor I-95, the southbound lanes around Richmond, Virginia are closed because of a tractor-trailer accident and fire. As for those flying this Thanksgiving week,
the FAA says that today is the busiest day with 52,000 flights expected. Now, we're told there is solid staffing at towers and control centers nationwide. The TSA thinks it's going to screen nearly 18 million people for the holiday.
That's ABC's Gio Benitez. And at the White House minutes ago, waddled the turkey pardoned by President Trump in a tradition dating back decades. This is ABC News.
John, what are you doing? Get in my car. So why are you walking to work? Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They're draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore. Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. Oh, wait. You're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app? Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas. Does that actually add up to anything? I'll make around $200. Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PROFIT for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code PROFIT. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PROFIT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PROFIT.
Some overnight police activity in Lincoln. Good morning. I'm Jeff Modes. Right now, we're at 45 degrees at KFOR. Lincoln police continue investigating a gunshot call from earlier this morning in the area around 43rd and Baldwin. There's not much detail to give in terms of what they found so far. The investigation, it is ongoing. Police tell us that some people have been taken into custody. We're still following this developing story. Also from the overnight, a driver has no serious injuries after he was involved in a single rollover crash at 70th and Francis in Northeast Lincoln. Police confirmed to KFOR News that a vehicle hit a light pole, causing some damage. The crash investigation is still ongoing. Former Fremont State Senator Lynn Walls announcing in an interview with the Nebraska Examiner that she has launched an exploratory committee that is considering a run for Nebraska governor next year. Walls, a Democrat, told the Examiner the state's political system and economy are broken, and she wants to hear from Nebraskans first before formally launching her bid. If you are leaving for Thanksgiving today, you should leave before noon. That's the suggestion from AAA Nebraska. Tomorrow, if you're going to leave, you should do it before 11 a.m. Otherwise, you'll run into backups on major roadways. AAA Nebraska's Brian Ortner tells KFOR News if you're flying or driving, plan ahead and bring your patience.
Lots of people traveling by either way. You're going to, encounter larger numbers at the airport, higher numbers of volume on the roads.
AAA projects that nearly 73 million Americans will travel by car this Thanksgiving, representing almost 90% of all holiday travelers. And Nebraska Athletics on Monday announced that country singer Zach Bryan will perform at Memorial Stadium next April as part of his newly announced With Heaven on tour. Bryan will perform at Memorial Stadium alongside openers Kings of Leon and J.R. Carroll on April 25th, 2026. The pre-sale for the show will begin on December 3rd at noon and will close the following day at 10 p.m. Public ticket sales go on sale on Friday, December 5th. Sunny today, windy, and wind advisory in effect until 6 this evening. We'll see steady temperatures up around 50. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
Hey, it's Bill Hooks and Elijah Herbal from the Morning Hookup. KFOR's Operation Santa Claus has been providing Christmas presents to Lincoln's less fortunate children since its inception in 1948. When it first began, Operation Santa Claus provided toys for children in orphanages. While most of Lincoln's less fortunate kids no longer live in orphanages, the mission of Operation Santa Claus lives on. With your support, we are able to provide all these youngsters with one brand new toy or gift to open on Christmas morning. You can donate to Operation Santa Claus at KFORnow.com. Happy holidays from all of us here at KFOR.
Ah, Cornelius, it's the holidays and Lincoln is positively abuzz about Jet Splash once again.
Have they started washing sleighs, Reginald?
Haha, not quite, but they are offering sleigh loads of savings on car wash bundles and memberships. It's their jaw-dropping holiday sale.
Wow.
Annual plans are up to $100 off, making it the perfect time to upgrade. And Jet Splash's 9th location off 27th and Vine is now open.
Does it wash sleighs?
Shop local or online at jetsplash.com.
Well, does it?
Is now open.
Does it wash sleighs?
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Welcome back in the Morning Hookup. Happy Tuesday. Let's have real talk, folks. You boys ready for some real talk? Feel like it's time for real talk.
It's time to get serious.
Coach Rule spoke. Okay, done. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ruffle the feathers. We're going to get honest here. Iowa Friday, Black Friday, 11 o'clock. Coming to town. Nebraska, big opportunity or a big loss. 8-4, 7-5. Win the game, there's one optic. Lose the game, failed season or not, is the question I think is real talk with this program. 8-4, bowl implications change. You beat Iowa, you beat a trend of getting upset or giving up field goals late in games and winning and then kissing your crowd. 7-5, failed season. Nebraska going to a bowl game, but they got that done like a month and a half ago. How are you feeling at that point?
Matt Rule said it himself last year. After last year, bowl eligibility is nothing to celebrate anymore. If you are in an upward trajectory in your program, what does a 7-5 season matter? What does bowl eligibility matter? You got the monkey off your back. Awesome. Hey, Mike Riley couldn't do it. Bo Pelini couldn't do it. Well, Mike Riley did it, but that's the roster here and here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could not get Nebraska to a bowl eligibility team with consistency. Hey, congrats. Back-to-back seasons of bowl eligibility. But Matt Rule already said it. Bowl eligibility is not what you're playing for. I'm kind of with not a lost season, but a failed season feels harsh, but it is a season that falls so short of expectations if you don't get it done on Friday. Not to mention the fact the goal to close this season, you already knew college football playoff was out of the cards once you lost to USC.
Yep.
The goal was to carry some momentum into a portal window and into the 2026 season, which it feels like needs to be a nationally relevant college football playoff type season. That's what an upward trajectory program would do. You're not mired in mediocrity. If Nebraska goes 7-5, what are you selling to portal kids aside from money? And we've talked about it before. Do you want a guy on your roster who cares about the money, or do you want a guy on your roster that cares about the winning whenever you're going into the transfer portal? Are you going to get guys that care about the winning after a 7-5 season? Or are you going to get the guys that are looking at all that money you're offering and say, man, be nice to set up my 401k, be nice to set up my retirement. Maybe I get a look at the NFL. Maybe we can win some games. That's not what matters. Look at all those zeros my paycheck could have. It's about turning around at this point now. It's about turning this season into momentum for next year. So you can go to guys in the portal and sell, hey, 8-4 this year. We got a young roster. We're going to be even better next year. You're the key piece that we need. Can you do that with 7-5? Does 7-5 feel like that momentum type season that guys in the portal will believe next year can be special? I don't think so. That's where I'm at with the importance of Friday.
Tell you what, 7-5, I'm going to relate it to this. 7-5 to me, optically, and I use that word a lot, but optically as a fan or a media member, whatever, looks like a knee-jerk extension reaction saying, hey, look at what I can do if you give me this kind of conversation when it's not proven. 7-5 to me is not proven to anything. 7-5 to me, looking back at what Coach Rule has done in year 3s, is not proven. It's optically not feeling good going into a bowl season, a portal season, because optically, if I'm a kid that's looking at the portal, I'm looking at the money, I might start going, wait a minute, that money's good. They were 7-5. It's going to get cold. There's other warm weather places I can go, probably get at least that same kind of money that won 8 games.
Well, this is going to sound harsh and a little disrespectful. Maybe it is. Going from 5-7 in year 1 to 6-6 in year 2 to 7-5 in year 3. And hey, I am not putting the bowl game into the record conversation. No, some people are like, well, if you get a bowl win, even if you lose to Iowa, it's an 8-win season.
Nope.
No, it's not. That don't count. That's a 7-win season. The bowl games, if it's not the college football playoff anymore, barely matter. They're fun for the fans.
You get the bowl. I mean, do they get bowl gifts still? Yay.
Teams get the experience. Let's not call it a real game. It's not like a Big Ten game. Guys opt out. Guys, even I know they're not going to be in the portal yet this season, but there's going to be guys that are in the portal. Whatever reason they sit out, it's not the same anymore. It'd be a 7-5 type season. So if you go 5-7 to 6-6 to 7-5, that's a good build. If you're Northwestern, if you're Purdue, this is still Nebraska. I know Nebraska's been down in the dumps, but that 3-year stretch of 5-7 to 6-6 to 7-5, that's a nice build if you are a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. And Nebraska has been a bottom feeder in the Big Ten, but let's look traditionally at Nebraska and the resources Nebraska has. That's not good enough.
But like, here's the thing: if they get to 8-4, I thought they would go 8-4 in the preseason. I predicted them to go 8-4. So I would look at it and I would go, circumstances considering, you lose Dylan Raiola, you probably win the USC game if he stays healthy. I'm going to say probably because it was looking pretty good before he got hurt. You probably beat UCLA because they aren't very good, despite whatever high heater they went on when they beat Penn State and Michigan State. They're still not very good. I don't know what State College looks like. It's probably still a loss because that team's playing some good football. And then you get him for Iowa. So here's the thing. What's your trajectory look like for next season as well? Is that a guy who jumps in the portal? Because if Dylan Raiola jumps in the portal, I know TJ Latif's done solid, but that's not a guy that you're looking at and going, oh, yeah, we just expect that he can help us make the same jump that Dylan Raiola did. You're going to need more talent around him. You're going to need better. You're going to need better in the trenches. So I think if you get to 8-4, you can it'd be disappointing for a lot of fans because there were people who had college football playoff expectations.
8-4 is completely different than 7-5.
8-4 is really
night and day.
8-4 is solid. Some people would say it's disappointing. 8-4 is solid considering the circumstances. 8-4, I'd probably be okay with. I'd be like, yeah, 8-4 is a solid season. 7-5. That's not inspiring a lot of confidence, but I'm going to ask this because Elijah, you talked the year-over-year build. This might not be a Matt Rule typical year 3 build because is this going to have to be like a 5 or 6 year thing? Because the infrastructure at Nebraska was that bad when he got here. There was no alignment, no vertical alignment between the NIL and the Board of Regents and the athletic director down to the head coach. There was no synergy and symmetry in the program. So does this need to be a longer rebuild?
No.
That's what I'm asking because
I'll put it simply, no.
Well, here's the thing. This program was that bad.
Yeah, but can I tell you, in my opinion, nobody cares about that. Because in the day and the world of where NIL and money is flowing, if you ain't winning, you ain't doing nothing. And that's my opinion.
And when
I'm looking at a P&L and a spreadsheet, here's the money, here's the ROI, and it should say 8+ wins.
And again, I'll go back to my old point. A 5 or a 6 year build, that feels all right for Purdue or Northwestern. Look at the fan support Nebraska has. Look at the monetary resources Nebraska has. Look at the brand new, shining, sparkling facility that you got. I know you can talk all about the infrastructure behind the scenes all you want, but at the end of the day, this is Nebraska. you still have a little bit of weight in the transfer portal because you are Nebraska, because you have the monetary resources. And I know it sounds like I'm talking about both sides of my mouth, because I just talked about the fact you don't want guys who are just in it for the money. And I still believe that's true. But if it's a 5 or a 6 year build, that means your first recruiting class didn't cut it for you. Your second recruiting class didn't cut it for you. You missed on a whole bunch of guys in the portal. Again, if you're Purdue or Northwestern, that's okay. You are Nebraska. A 5 or a 6 year build doesn't cut it around here.
But and I'm not going to make many friends saying this. What really has been the separator between Purdue, Northwestern, and Nebraska over the past couple of years?
Resources and fan support.
Yeah, I know, but you might I think we might have to readjust. Fans might have to readjust their expectations, because this program was legitimately terrible for 10 years.
And that's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now. I think also 7-5, 8-4, 7-5. There's harsh realities of looking in the mirror.
No, I think that you should. I think that you should look in the mirror and you should look at that staff.
That staff.
Yeah, that's
7-5 goes, hey, you start really poking holes. We didn't get better at this. We didn't get better at that. We didn't get better at this. Whatever. The cons are going to outweigh the pros at 7-5.
And you better exhaust every option.
You have 8-4. You have a little. You're holding the hammer still as a CEO and a head coach, because you're like, look at what this. Look at where we are now. 8-4, 7-5. Also, you're talking about fan support and bowl games. I would tell you from my perspective, I am all about going to a bowl game. There's 7-5. It's way less an opportunity for me to go. 8-4, I'm all in. I'm finding my way to a destination to go to a bowl game.
Well, and also 7-5, you look at the schedule they have next year. And I know we're projecting out pretty far because schedules never seem to line up to be what they are on paper. But you look at that schedule next year, this team finishes 7-5. You can make a legit case hey, they might be fighting to get to a bowl game. And in year 4 of a build, you don't want to be fighting to get to a bowl game. If you're at Sam Houston State, yeah, you can fight to go, be in year 4. If you're at UTEP, If you're at UTEP, you could be okay, yeah, year 4, we can fight to get to a bowl game. We have had to turn over this roster and create more infrastructure. If you're at Nebraska, like we're saying, with the resources, if we're at that point where it's hey, we have resources and fan support, there should be no issue with what we have. You just got to go start winning with what we're giving you. Then if you're fighting for a bowl game in year 4, that is disastrous. That means some things took some turns behind the scenes that just should not have happened. And that means that there are some things that played out in the offseason that absolutely should not have happened with the stature of Nebraska. I know, I'd get the schedules where it is. Year 4, you want to be where Matt Rule said that you want to be, and that's knocking on the door for a playoff. That is legitimately being in serious conversation for playoff talks. If you're barely fighting for a bowl game in year 4, you're going to have to take a long, long look in the mirror behind the scenes.
7-5, a lot more questions and answers for sure than 8-4, but I would say it's 7-5, and we could go even deeper into this when you look ahead. And you're talking about if you go into year 4 fighting for a bowl game, how hot is the seat? Where does it go?
It's going to be
because there's a lot. I don't want to put all the implications on one game, but you start a lot more questions happen at 7-5 than they do at 8-4.
Well, I think you have to ask the legitimate how much progress has been made through 3 years. If the season is still ending with a thump in November, a thud. If it's still a loss to Iowa. If it's still winless against top 25 opposition, congrats. I mean, beating Northwestern and teams of that ilk is a step up. But by year 3, that was supposed to be a given.
Mm-hmm. You should be.
You should be.
Well, those are expectations.
You should be at least beating Minnesota. Teams that you have more resources.
You shouldn't be getting embarrassed by Minnesota. Yep. That's for sure.
You should be competitive with USC and Michigan. Okay, we can tick that box. They were competitive with USC and Michigan. They got boat raced by Penn State, but you should be beating Minnesota. At minimum, we should be talking about a 9-3, 8-4 season instead of an 8-4, 7-5. And people are like, "What's the difference between the one win?" Optically, that difference between that 7-5 and that 8-4, that's one less loss that you have to worry about.
Well, and if you take it back to 2022 in this hiring process, and you would have said, it's going to be 7-5 in year 3. You'd sit back and say, okay, a bowl game.
Sure.
Cool. Nice.
Fine.
Wouldn't you want just a little bit more, though? Mm-hmm. I understand.
This doesn't.
You were down in the dumps.
5 does not make me want to go, oh, I can't wait to get a little more. What's next year?
Well, let me add, if it's, hey, Nebraska, 7-5 in year 3, but Matt Rule still wouldn't have beaten Iowa or a top 25 opponent. Now you sit back and you go, at least they're bowl eligible. And that's kind of the same point. Okay, at least they're bowl eligible. They're making a bowl game, but no top 25 wins and no wins against Iowa. Your only win in the last 10 years against Iowa has come with an interim head coach.
A lot of thought, a lot of optics conversations.
Well, and think about some of the guys. So let's have this conversation. Knowing what we know now, would you retroactively go back and hire, let's say, if you'd hired somebody else besides Matt Rule, would it have turned out any better? If you hired Deion Sanders,
if you hired Cignetti, it would have.
If you hired Luke
he wasn't
Fickell,
in the conversation.
No, Cignetti was not in the conversation. If you go hire,
maybe he should have been.
What if you go hire Chris Peterson? What if you get the DeBoer hire? That was actually rumored. What if you go get Lance Leipold? What if you go get Matt Campbell? Does it turn out better with any of those guys? I think that's an interesting conversation.
I hate that it's year 3 and we're having that conversation.
Is that the same conversation?
I know that we hate to have it, but we have to have some honest conversations if it does turn out that way. Then you're looking back and you're going, could we have made a different move with the realistic candidates? Because I don't think Cignetti was a realistic candidate. I don't think he was on the short list. But if you look at some of the realistic candidates and you go, hey, do we think it could have been better given what we know now about some of the guys that were hired and turned out and some of the guys that weren't hired and stayed and turned out the way that they did?
I could also hop back in the DeLorean and stop Perlman and Peterson from making a mess of this.
You could.
It's all different conversations, but optically, again, the record is going to define this season, I believe. On how you're feeling as a fan or whatever questions you might have.
Well, because 7-5 would seemingly represent this season well.
It
based
would,
on what we know right now.
But it erases, I think 7-5 erases a lot of the good things that have happened.
It erases momentum for sure.
It erases what Emmett Johnson has really done this year to me. You know what I'm saying? Those types of things.
But if you
moments this team has had that are really good, there are really good progress moments.
But if you finish 8-4 and you go on a high note and you go beat that Iowa team, and I get it, they haven't had the season that they want. You go beat that Iowa team. Let's say you beat them in a 1-possession game. Let's say you go out and you kick a game winner against them, or you go out and you find a late winner with them with an Emmett Johnson 3-yard rushing touchdown. What if you go put the dagger in their heart? What if you win in 8-4 in that way? How big of a momentum swing is that? It's oh my gosh, we got over the hump. We beat that team that we've been waiting and toiling over trying to beat for several years. Then can you put a little bit more of a positive spin and say, hey, we beat that team. We beat that Iowa team, that team across the river. We went out and did it. And we finally, we got over that hump. We executed at a high level. Now we get to go play a bowl game and take that out. But we're 8-4 and we have actual momentum when everything in this season turned against us. It felt like. And there was some real momentum that went against us. Could you then look at that and say, you know what? I think we could take 8-4 and I'd be pretty happy about it.
I promise you right now, that happens. When's our next show together after this?
Tomorrow. Oh, all together next Tuesday, a week from today?
Yeah.
That's my birthday, by the way. I'm bringing chicken and pickles.
And
we're going to celebrate and crown.
As we should.
And we're going to have that positive conversation you're talking about.
And
I'm all in for it.
I would love to have that positive coverage. Yep. You know what I would hate? I know what I'd hate to have? All the topics that we brought up. Is Nebraska with Purdue and Northwestern their rebuild? Is Nebraska, should we be going back retroactively? I would love to kick those to the curb and say, get out of here. Let's not talk about them. I would love to have that positive conversation. And frankly, that's what I'm hoping happens. I hope that we're having a positive conversation come next Tuesday and we go, wow, 8-4 Nebraska. We're right where we needed to be, but it was, up and down.
In a week of thanks, I'm thankful to have both of you sitting here and be able to have these types of conversations.
The last thing I'll say here before we get to Brian Munson, who I know is eagerly waiting to get on with this here, is to be the pessimist. Look at how Iowa wins football games and look at how you've lost football games this year. Iowa has 3 bona fide future NFL guys on their offensive line. Logan Jones, one of the best centers in college football. You got Bo Stevens, a really, really good left guard. He'll be a draft pick. And then you got Jennings Dunker at right tackle, another draft pick. Not to mention right guard, left tackle, probably future draft picks as well. And you have an Iowa team that likes running the damn football. You haven't been able to stop quarterback run well all year. Guess what? That's all Mark Gronowski does. Through the air, he is an issue in a not good way for Iowa. But on the ground, that dude is built like a linebacker. And he's going to run like a linebacker carrying the football. He's going to pick up yards on the ground. Their Iowa rushing attack is going to pick up yards on the ground. How does your front seven stand up to 3, if not 5, future NFL guys on the Iowa offensive line. Iowa is one of the standards in the Big Ten, if not college football, for offensive line development. This year is another banner year for their offensive line. It is their strength against your weakness.
Because if you remember Logan Jones's first couple of years, that guy sucked.
Oh, yeah.
That guy was legitimately terrible. And that was like legitimately in the conversation for being an all Big Ten first team and an All-American.
Yeah.
Like that's how that guy's developed. And Dunker's a mauler, and Bo Stevens is a really good player, and they've got other guys. But I'll play devil's advocate. What if this team comes out with a chip on their shoulder and that defensive line plays inspired? What if Terry Braden juices the boys up and he just says, hey, it's about time where people have been dogging on us for a little bit. What if we go out and we played a little bit of performance? What if Rob Dvorak gets in his linebackers here and he's like, what if we fit the run this week? What if we go out there and we just go hammer? I know that trends and we have a whole season of tape behind us that says we aren't going to do it. But what if in a rivalry game they throw it all out the window and they say, we're going balls to the wall, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to play and we're going to see what happens. And what if they just go play inspired football?
Well, this team's always responded.
It always
That's
has.
the thing.
It always responded.
Under
Can
Matt
they
Rule,
do it?
after a bad performance, this team has always responded. But it is Iowa's strength against your weakness, and it's got to be one hell of a response.
Whew, good stuff, fellas. Thank you for that, and all you guys hanging out with us. Let's take a break. We'll come back with Husker Online's Brian Munson. Knuck up. Good stuff.
We're
Good
good.
stuff.
I checked it. We're good. Had to make sure.
Brian Munson gonna be okay. Didn't they were they off this week? The Bills. Or they take the L.
No, they played Thursday night, didn't they?
Oh, did they?
No, that was the Patriots.
They might have been on a bye week. They
Thursday
were on a bye.
No, Thursday they lost to the Texans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna Thursday lost to the Texans.
Oh,
That's right.
They lost to Davis Mills.
They lost to the new neck, Davis Mills.
Well, and
that's
by the way, have you seen what they've done too?
Yeah, he's not Mike Glennon, but he's the new
he's
neck.
starting again. He's going to start again.
Hey, we've got a funny song coming out.
I love it
because the Huskers got to commit.
Yeah, lighten the mood, please.
Yeah, I got a fun song because the Huskers got to commit. Should we just call him Brian? Should we pre-prep him?
No,
we're gonna ambush him.
I'll give him a bet. Brian, your team sucks.
Oh my goodness.
Should I be a baddie and get a peppermint hot chocolate after the show?
Peppermint hot chocolate?
Yeah, should I be a baddie?
Are they good?
I love it.
My kids love it.
I love it.
I thought you get yourself a black coffee and get some hair on your chest.
Whoa. Fuck. What? I didn't say it. I offered chicken and pickles.
Oh, I know. I think it's interesting that the guy's talking about hair on his chest when he's got Sean Payton as his favorite head coach.
Wow, here we go.
I never said he's my favorite.
He's your favorite team's head coach. So.
There it is. That's yeah.
Sean Payton, who didn't have enough hair on his chest to take responsibility for Bounty Gate.
This is going.
Yeah, that was.
I didn't know where
we all know that was him.
I didn't know where this was going.
All right, let's. I'm gonna bring up
here. B Munson
before it comes to fisticuffs in the studio.
Yeah. Good thing there's a window between you two.
Most I ever appreciated that window was whenever we had Searles in the studio, and somebody said our favorite former Husker NFLer's in here, and I said, "Is he? I don't see Rex Burkhead."
Oh,
and Searles wanted to come through that damn glass.
Oh my God. That just, I'm like tongue tied. I'm like, whoa.
All right, we're going to get rolling here, Brian. Thank you so much for picking up.
You bet. He didn't want to, but he did it.
Here we go, fellas.
welcome back in the morning hookup. Happy Tuesday.
You know what happened, baby?
Yeah,
the
we did.
Huskers got another.
Husker Online. Brian Munson. Brian, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
He queued that up perfectly. Could you hear that song?
I did. I heard a little sign seal delivered. I'm yours.
That's what it just keeps doing. That's what Nebraska football just keeps doing with recruits.
Who cares what happened in State College? We got another 4-star. Put it in the books. Who cares about football when you can win recruiting?
You guys got you're absolutely right, because I remember this happening under Bill Callahan too, like where they would lose on Saturday, then the next day they would pick up like Zach Bowman or Marlon Lucky, or some other massive recruit would say, yeah, I'm coming to Lincoln, but then it's like, oh yeah, I'm overshadowing the fact that I just lost to Texas Tech. It was just it's a I don't think that that's planned here necessarily at all. In fact, I would say it wasn't. But I think there have been some things trending towards Amir jumping into the class here for a while now.
Well, you know what? Since we're there, let's talk about the young man. You got Amir Brown coming to Nebraska, obviously, right after. I guess a lot of people question. Well, let's talk about him, Mr. Brown, and then like the question being, how does that continue to happen? I think a lot of people are like, I got to ask that question. Like, did they not just see what happened, but yet this continues to happen?
Well, so yeah, I think for Amir, I think it's just, there's been improvement. I mean, you can't deny that there's been improvement in Lincoln, and improvement from Scott Frost to Matt Rule. And I think that you still have these undeniable things about the experience in Lincoln when it comes to playing, in front of 90,000 fans in Memorial Stadium. And the couple of games that Amir showed up to, were tremendous environments. And things happen in such a short, expedited amount of time for him, because people have to go back and remember he was a North Carolina commitment up until about mid-October. Then he was in Lincoln like 2.5 weeks later. Then after he says, well, I'm going to try to get back to Lincoln, he's there the very next week to check out USC. And coming off of that, everybody's feeling very, very good, I think, at that point, that Nebraska is not only the leader, just when he announces that he's coming back, but then afterward he says, like, yeah, they're my leader, but I don't really have a timeline. And then maybe just like 3 weeks later after the USC game, he's a Husker. So I think Matt Rule did a great job in getting basically, zeroed back in. I think Nebraska was in on a couple of other guys. They still have maybe the chance or opportunity to grab another running back as part of that class. I think things were going sideways, even though I did hear that Kamon Spell, the 5-star one-time Penn State running back, had been thinking about taking a visit to Nebraska. He visited Athens, and I think now that he's really trending towards the Bulldogs. So this is really good news, I think, for Nebraska to kind of get that 2027 spot locked down in the class. You're really developing this really incredible core where you've got Trey, you got Amir, you got T. Ellis, you got kind of your own new triplets if you want to go that far. But they're a very active group on social media. They seem to get along well personality-wise. They seem to all be very, very much like, technicians and kind of, they're into perfecting their craft. They all seem to be really hard workers. But yeah, I think that this is a big get for Matt Rule. And I think it's something that's going to be very interesting to watch. Like I said, before, like with Tay, like over the next 13 months or so, watching how they kind of put together the rest of this class is going to be very interesting. I think Nebraska fans are probably now wondering, well, when are you guys going to go add some more people to the trenches or to the other side of the football? I think it's still very undeniable that the 2026 class is not up to snuff right now, and the needs of like the current roster and people like in the trenches on the defensive side of the football are not being addressed there. But I think that 2027 it's going to be a much larger class, and they'll have an opportunity, I think, to start keeping to address that and getting in some more offensive linemen. There's still 3 really good offensive linemen in that 26 group that will help players like Dylan and Lateef and Trey, once Trey gets on campus.
It's Brian Munson with us here, HuskerOnline.com on the morning hookup. And Brian, before we go big picture, I do want to just zone in on Amir Brown briefly, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been on record a couple times. His running style and his measurables remind me a little bit of Quinshaw and Judkins, and I know that's a high comparison to make at this point in time, but if you go back, Quinshaw was only a 3-star recruit coming out of Alabama back in the day, picks Ole Miss. He was 5'11", 200, feels a lot like Brown. The running style just kind of reminds me of Judkins. Is that fair? Is there a comp that you would give for Amir Brown with how he runs the football?
I'm not really necessarily at liberty to kind of say that off the top of my head. I've kind of been asked to compare him, and I kind of struggle to find. I kind of see some Keywan Lacey.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that. I've seen a little bit of guys like that. I would kind of go back and point at that were in the Nebraska, more lineage, maybe like a Brandon Jackson in some cases. Amir is, where you get with Emmett, like with the jump cut, Amir has got this real interesting, stop start, where he can just kind of stop. And then he just kind of it's almost like a Walter Payton thing that he does, where he kind of sticks his foot in the ground, and he kind of makes a decision, and he's off another way. But his change of direction is pretty impressive, and he has got an ability to get up to speed very, very quickly. I consider him to be a home run threat. I think he has that kind of speed. I think he has a little bit of a bowling ball, to him when you take a look at his frame, like you said, 5'11", 200, 205 pounds. He's going to have an ability to be really tough. He's got a lower center of gravity. People are going to try to hit him, and they're going to bounce off from time to time. He's going to be really difficult to kind of be a single, solo tackler kind of dude. And he just runs incredibly hard. I think it's interesting that Nebraska will get basically their, the running backs for the 2026 class and 2027 class, both out of the state of North Carolina. But I think it's really good things. I think Rule and Brown have some similar qualities themselves. I think that they kind of look similar, when it comes to the running style. So, yeah, I think Amir is a great get for Nebraska. I think that he's a guy that as soon as he steps foot on campus, that they will be giving him every opportunity to get up to speed quickly to try to help out that team as soon as he's there on campus.
Brian, I wanted to ask you a little two-parter here. First, is 2027 going to look like a 2 running back class, or are they still actively pursuing Kylon Haney from Omaha Central? And second, are we overplaying, just as fans and media, how much winning actually matters to some recruits if your program's in an upward trajectory? Just fan base and NIL support and atmosphere and other things like that, facilities, does that play more of a factor than what actually transpires on Saturdays? Obviously, winning matters, but does it matter to the degree that we maybe make it out to?
Well, I think going back to your first question about the 2 running back, I think that there will be a desire for them to bring in 2, because I think what they're going to do at the end of this year is I think there's a question, because Emmett's not going to be announced as part of senior day, what's going to happen in the room, right? Is Emmett coming back, or is this a situation here where he will get the guidance to go ahead and leave? And then I think Nebraska's got to go back and figure out, well, we thought we were in much better position than what we were going into the season when it came to how this room was going to stand up behind Emmett, and it wasn't there. So what really is in the room now, and what needs to be in the room? Because when I add Jamal Rule, is Jamal Rule kind of more of a guy that I think can be in a place to help me out in a year? And if so, who did I just recruit over? Who are the parts and the pieces now that don't make as much sense because I've just recruited over those folks? So I think that's one of the questions that I would ask myself. But I think that then could open up the door and leave it open to go get a second running back in the class. So, and Trey Taylor's been talking about it a lot. Trey Taylor's been talking about 2 running backs in the class now for a while now. So we'll see what happens. But going back to your other question, I think, there's other programs that are recruiting very successfully that aren't having great years. Syracuse is recruiting very well. They're flipping guys from Florida State. Florida State, even though Norvell has been, stuck at 3 wins or 4 wins the last 2 seasons there in Tallahassee, and he still has the vote of confidence of the administration, he still is recruiting very well. I think you start talking about, where things are kind of at trajectory wise. I think Nebraska has the trajectory. I think Nebraska has the facilities. I think Nebraska has, now a head coach has a vote of confidence, from the AD. I think that they've got this commitment now also to fund basically the salary cap, essentially that they're going to use to fund the roster. And I think that those are things that kind of add up. I think the atmosphere is a big thing. I think the atmosphere is something that got lost. I think to be kind of completely and totally fair to the whole entire process, particularly to the junior classes the last couple of years, there has been, the NCAA has moved everything to the left so violently that it's been very difficult, I think, for these schools, particularly Nebraska, because of their head coaching change, to get in front of that, to where juniors and sophomores were actually coming in the fall before their next year, because juniors that fall have to see basically campus again. Otherwise they're having to choose to commit to Nebraska in June or July ahead of ever seeing a home game in Lincoln. That in itself, it's almost like having to do something that's not even to your strengths. I think we would all agree that the strength of Nebraska is looking around Lincoln on game day. What happens there, being inside of Memorial Stadium, the sellout streak, the balloons on the first touchdown, the walk through, the tunnel walk, the tailgaters, all that stuff. I think that those are the biggest things that you can basically have. And Nebraska's had to deal with not having an ability basically for those guys to see that for 2 years. Now they're finally in front of it. And I think it's going to pay some huge dividends for 2027.
Again, we're speaking to Brian Munson, HuskerOnline.com. Speaking of next year and the future, talk about some of the guys or kids, because we're talking about building that, right? We're talking about the class of 26 and on, but talk about some of the guys that are going to get the ability to enroll in January, be in some bowl practices, how important that will be for these kids to get them here, get them intermixed with some of the veteran guys, be able to get up and up with the culture, because I think that's a valuable piece. Again, I know we've talked about expectations about we're not celebrating bowl games, but past not celebrating being at a bowl game, there's more importance of being at a bowl game for the future of Nebraska football.
Yeah, there's only a couple guys that aren't going to be able to partake, right? Like Jace Reynolds is going to stick around in school because he's going to play basketball in the winter. Claudin Puma plays basically at a high school that does not allow for him to leave before the end of the first semester. So he'll be there in January. He just won't be there in December. So that's something to kind of take note of. But when you bring in, you're bringing in Naylon Scott and Jamal Rule and the offensive lineman, Ainsworth won't be there either, because he essentially, since he's reclassified, up, where he's moved up from being basically a junior to a senior, he will have to finish out his first year. But you're going to bring in Rex Waterman, he'll have a chance to go ahead and take part of that. And you got Luke Sorensen, obviously, too, out there at Anaheim Servite. So you're getting a good chunk. And Larry Miles, who's one of just a couple of players now in the class that are still have high school seasons going on. Nebraska gets, their 2 wide receivers to come in. They're getting their tight end there. They're getting 1 offensive lineman. Danny Odom, the top-rated player in the class, he will be there as well. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off the top of my head here, guys. I don't have my terminal here in front of me this morning, but I think that pretty much gets through all of them. But I think that, being a smaller class, you're going to have 6 of the 9 that'll be there in December going through practices. And I think it's just such a great way to kind of learn the process. That's what was always so big about the spring. It wasn't necessarily hey, yeah, you got to I learned the offense, I learned the defense. Well, there's a lot of other things that go on with being just away from home and figuring out things, how it works in Lincoln, and just, how things are going to work with you. And I think that those are another things to kind of dip your toe, into the water. You get used to it, come back in January, you add another thing to it. And then pretty soon when the following, summer and fall come around, you're all ready to go. So I think that that's a good group for Nebraska to bring in December. It'd be very interesting to hear some of the reports on how some of those guys are looking, because, Danny Odom, his rating right now is skyrocketing. There's a lot of people that were really trying to get another look from him to take a visit. And when he locked it down, it was pretty significant for Nebraska to be able to say that he was going to be part of this class.
It's Brian Munson with us here. And Brian, something we talked about back in the first segment, need to get your take on the perception of Nebraska, not just in recruiting, but in the portal 7-5, 8-4. Does it matter what happens Friday as you look ahead to the offseason, just what the national perception is with this program, whether it be among a 17-year-old high school junior who Nebraska's recruiting, whether it be a 21-year-old who's been playing a few years and is looking for his next stop in the transfer portal? Does Friday matter?
Well, I mean, it's the difference between Las Vegas and Tampa, but I mean, to the point that you're making, no, not really. There's not going to be a portal guy that's going to go back and point the finger at, what happened on the game at Black Friday and say, well, if you would have beat Iowa, I would have chose you over so-and-so. It's not going to be that kind of a situation at all. But Nebraska has still a part of this class, and this is the part I'm trying to figure out how to kind of wrap my head around, like how to wordsmith this a little bit better. There's still an in-flight portion of this 2026 class, and they have needs. They have a need for another wide receiver. They have a need to probably find some help at linebacker and defensive line. They had planned on bringing in some junior college guys. Some of those things have fallen through. Particularly the linebacker, Taylor Schaefer, change of plans, going a different direction. A couple other guys it didn't work out. They're going to commit and go some other places. They're going to have an opportunity, here or there to kind of bring in a couple of cornerbacks to take a look at, because I think they still feel like they need the help in the secondary. But there are some things that are happening currently in the 2026 class. They need to find that wide receiver, need to find some other help. But I mean, those kinds of things, like the big ticket items, linebacker, which stood, was just glaringly apparent, that you needed help at linebacker on Saturday night against Penn State. Also, defensive line need to have a few more guys there. So those guys there, I just don't feel like they're going to be able to find those guys any longer. Like in the JUCO kind of ranks, they're going to probably roll them over to the portal. They're probably still going to be able to find a guy, like Quade Hendricks is a UConn wide receiver commitment who will be in there this Saturday. Like I said, a couple of one portal, one JUCO cornerback will be there. So I don't think it's going to be a significant. There's no significance around the win or the loss to Iowa when it comes to like how things are going to end up with that group right there. But I do feel like Nebraska, has got to get very serious and have the guys, earmarked that they want to go after in January. And they're going to have to spend some money in the trenches. I think a lot of people, that are asking me questions about it are wondering when they're going to stop seeing the names of so many skill position guys and start seeing a little bit more of the big uglies, that are there in the trenches.
Brian, we appreciate your time as always, my friend. Take care of yourself, and have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Quickly, before we get out,
sorry.
I do need to know the favorite Thanksgiving dish of Brian Munson is what?
Dude, I'm a meat and potatoes guy.
Ooh,
so
I like
fried turkey, and I'm a mashed potatoes and gravy. My wife does the best mashed potatoes I've ever had in my life, and I've been frying turkey since I came to Texas back in '99, and think I pretty much got that down, even though I'm working out a new setup this year. So I'm a fried turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy, and that's where it all starts with me. I'd add green beans to that. That's probably going to throw some people off, but I do green beans a little bit different with bone broth, like beef broth, and bacon bits, and a little bit of like Cajun seasoning.
So, Brian, really quickly, ham at the Thanksgiving table, yes or no? And what's the favorite kind of pie?
Yes, I do ham at the table. I sometimes do not partake. Sometimes it doesn't hit me. There's just too many variations of ham. Sometimes I don't like some of them. But the pie of choice at my table, I got two. I got to stay traditional with pumpkin, but I'm also a French silk guy.
I love that. I love that out of you. That's great. That's good. That's good hoops.
Well, Brian, man, have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, guys. Have a great holiday, you and your listeners. See you.
Thank you. Brian Munson, HustlerOnline.com. Great stuff from him. Let's take a break, come back with stories that we missed. Ooh, you don't like that.
Well, that was quite good.
We got a big story we missed involving your St. Louis Cardinals, Justice.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah. wish we had YZ in here to talk about this. That'd be a fun little conversation.
My buddy immediately texted me, and he only immediately texts me about a few things. Food.
Yep. Is he a ham at the Thanksgiving table kind of guy? I am not.
That I don't know.
I am not a ham at the Thanksgiving table kind of guy. Aside from on sandwiches, I'm just not a big ham guy in general.
Really? That's fascinating. Ham is very present.
You said that before.
Ham at Thanksgiving, ham at Christmas.
Ham is very much present in our house. We like it.
But text you about food.
So he texts me about food. He texts me about going to sporting events, and then he texts me about sports news. That's all he texts me about.
That's an ideal male friendship.
No, it really is. I mean, we like that's the only immediate text I get. Other than that, and then like obviously like family stuff and emergencies and hey, can you come get me in case of an emergency or something like that.
That's ideal male friendship.
Yep, ideal male friendship.
I love it.
That's your girlfriend broke up with you 6 months ago, bro. I'm sorry to hear that.
I bet.
You want to go to the Broncos game?
No, literally. Okay, so funny story about him. So so his like girlfriend broke up with him, and I didn't find out until like word of mouth, like literally 3 weeks later. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. The guy immediately texted me back, and he was like, yo, food at 12:30, and I'm like, yeah.
yeah.
Male friendship right there.
And then we showed up, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, yeah. Hey, have you looked at the basketball schedule? Like, if we win these next 6 games, like, he's like, dude, if we win the next 6 games, ideal male friendship.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
That's what you want.
I love him. Shout out Ryan.
Just get the emotions out of it, okay? Let's move on.
If he wanted to talk about it, I'm sure he would have. But he wanted to talk about Nebraska basketball.
Darn right.
More power to him.
He had real things on his mind.
Well, and him and I will again be at the Nebraska basketball game. Yeah, he was like, who cares? hey, here's our tournament. Here's our team cast. So if we win these next 5 games, including 3 quad 1A opponents,
low key, she wasn't the one.
Hey. Women come and go. A Nebraska basketball tournament win is forever.
That's what I'm talking about. Build the statue. That's what I'm talking about. No, it's an ideal male friendship. It's great. Like that. Like I open I'm like, okay. He only immediately texts me about a few things. I'm like, this is something. And then the pass and notification popped up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's why he's texting me because it involved his Red Sox
and your Cardinals
and my Cardinals.
So we'll get into that.
And it was a little
for the first time in a long time, Monday Night Football will fall under stories that we missed.
Yeah, because I don't think if you stayed tuned long enough, you saw it.
Game was gross.
That's funny. We need to talk about malpractice in that game.
Got a little.
My gosh.
Well, now it's like a little because they don't do the little tweet anymore. Oh, I've got a story that we missed. I've got one.
I'll let you guys deliver the first blow.
Yeah, boy,
that's a good one.
I like that.
A little credit.
That's not a reference to what Elijah said in the Real Red Reaction stream about Chris Brown. That's not delivering that first blow.
Oh gosh. I had one the other day too that probably was. Who did I reference the other day?
Who did you reference the other day?
Wasn't good.
James Brown?
No.
Tucker DeVries's off the court antics?
No, you guys stopped me on it too. I forgot what I said.
Have you looked into Tucker DeVries's off the court antics?
No.
Quite fascinating. That's something for off air. But
I'll tell you. I know. I delivered the Tanya Harding comment the other day. That's what it was.
That
was bad.
That's good. Bad? No, that's good. That's ethical hoops.
It was in reference on if anybody could stop Millard South. That was bad.
I see no issue. Play on.
In news that does not matter, my fantasy app is saying that I have clinched playoffs, but I haven't.
Hey!
I have not.
Oh.
I don't care what the app says.
Sixth place in our league goes to the highest points for, and I could still fall in 6th place, and I will not be the highest remaining points for team.
I believe in you, though.
We'll see.
All right, fellas, let's close this out.
Here we go. Welcome back in the morning hookup. Special thanks to Brian Munson, HuskerOnline.com. Just a few short moments left, so let's rock some stories that we missed.
The stories we missed. The morning hookup.
A big one here for Justice Rhodey's Cardinals. Breaking from Jeff Passan. The Red Sox have acquired St. Louis star pitcher Sonny Gray, who will waive his no-trade clause in order to go be a Boston Red Sox.
All right.
Good for Sonny. Thank you for your years of service. We got Dick Fitz, baby. We got Dick Fitz.
What is happening?
Richard Fitz.
There it is. Thank you. Thank you.
Richard Fitz is a St. Louis Cardinal. That's all that matters.
Is his given name Richard?
Yes, but he goes by Dick.
I would too. That's hilarious.
Dick Fitz is a St. Louis Cardinal.
Monday Night Football was last night.
That's so fitting. That's
pun intended.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Hey, before we get to Monday Night Football, did anybody see what Creighton's radio announcer?
The great John Bishop.
Yeah.
He was upset last night.
He absolutely had a meltdown. I wish we could play the clip, but I'm not certain if we would get an FCC violation.
He said
or not.
blocking.
It was a blocking. It sounded like something that may or may not
That
be an
also
FCC
ended in
violation.
King.
I don't want to toe the line, but just know that he was very irate at a certain call by a certain official who he called horse crap and incompetent.
It was a bad call.
Fitting for them. I'm glad. Happy for
Was it bad, though? It went against Creighton.
That's a fair point.
them. We're happy for
Mozi,
them.
close your ears.
Oh, boy, we're fitting for them. But, boy, in a yuck Monday night game, if you had a chance to watch or if you even made yourself watch that, things heated up late in that game when you saw Juwan Jennings come across Trayvon, I didn't saw his last name, but Trayvon Morrig with an open right hand across his face mask. They're like dragging him back and then trying to figure out what in the heck is happening, knowing that a fine or a suspension might be coming. But video evidence shows there was a little low blow in this one, which caused a little emotional response from one Jennings, which all of us would do if it happened to us. And you get hit in the old button down below.
Was the low blow 3 first half interceptions from Brock Purdy?
That was
He needs to be jailed for crimes against my fantasy team.
Jennings just said, I was just responding to some childish behavior. And a cheap shot.
Brock Purdy needs to be jailed. He needs to be charged for crimes against humanity and crimes against my fantasy team. What on God's grace? I needed you to get 20 points, buddy.
Hey, a win is a win, though. That's I'm sure that's all they care about. And that was a forgettable win for the 49ers, but a win's a win.
Speaking of win is a win, and I know we don't talk a lot of NBA. I know the Thunder are off and rolling right now. But how about the Pistons? They won 13 in a row right now. That is a story a couple years back that you might not be able to see right now. By the way, that ties the 90 and 04 title teams with 13 in a row.
Hey, Jalen Duren's been playing good basketball. Listen,
gosh.
I'm not a Jalen Duren guy, but Jalen Duren's been playing good basketball. My guy, Cade Cunningham, he is hooping. I am a huge Cade Cunningham fan.
27 points per game this year.
I mean, it's just an amazing because if you thought maybe that was happening a couple years ago with the Pistons, you'd be out of your mind.
The Pistons?
Yeah.
Winning basketball? The Pistons? The car parts?
It would have been the other way, 13 straight losses. But, boy, you guys have been awesome. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Tuesday. We got one more day until that turkey comes. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Tomorrow, Henry T. Buchanan and a whole lot more. We got more? Keep it rolling. See you tomorrow.